Just as a disclaimer for this transcript is going there. Just a disclaimer for um, the HBAR. It's the same exact brief for the H radio as well. 323s, HBAR 330s, and I'm briefing currently with the H radio 323. So no variation in the brief, except obviously the title there, as you can see, H radio 323. Right, F2 needs to be in the obviously the week of the 3rd to the 7th, which is obviously the last week of class, right, the semester, and
Oh,
then
so
we're going
this
to
is
go.
like what they used to call it, the supplement. Yes,
Not
beginning
the
of the day
sub.
something.
No, not the sub. No, this will be your second formative. If you
I think it had a
need,
bit of, I thought it had a different name back in the day.
uh,
Well, back in the
uh,
day, I mean,
there's a
2 years ago.
submission, there's a
Okay.
formative, there's an assignment.
Oh, well,
You're talking
I
about the
put that in my head.
summative. Are you thinking of
Summative.
the
That's
summatives are lost? That's going to happen later on. So we're talking because it's a year subject, right?
okay.
So
Yeah,
we'll
because
only
it's a
do
year
that in
subject.
October.
That makes
Okay.
sense. Okay.
All right, good. So we're in for the second one. You have obviously 3 F3s throughout the year, and then the summative then as well.
Mm.
Again, short contact hours around this particular. I'm saying what you have to do for this particular formative, and then your independent hours as it is your extra learning, as you know, right?
Mm-mm.
So this is connected to modules 15 and 16. But specifically in terms of modules 15 and 16, we're talking about the lessons that go from, let's say, lesson 20 onwards, right? When you start doing content creation, preparing for on air, and that's obviously important, right? Which is something that we'll obviously continue with throughout the next couple, I'd say maybe 2 or 3 weeks specifically, as we head towards preparing you for studio training and obviously more technical stuff. So working with imaging, etc., all coming up. It's all on a preparation. We will cycle back a little bit back to marketing, but only within a programmatic context, just so that you know where we are heading. And this stuff is quote unquote busy. We're busy covering it right now, right? Okay, so it is obviously once again all assignments are individual unless obviously stated like maybe the FA3. I don't know just yet, but we're talking. There's 2 questions. Question 1, question 2. The first one is storytelling. The second one is podcasting. Right. So the storytelling, we'll do this and we'll do the rubric as well, so that you know exactly how the breakdown goes. Um, show prep, storytelling 20 marks. Utilize the 5 storytelling steps in Next Level Radio, page 121, to record a 2 to 3 minute compelling story for a radio segment, right? So kind of like you were a little bit introduced to in the formative one, but now you're going to go full-bodied, 3-dimensional. And again, we're going to have a lot of obviously conversations around that post this, like I say, today, post obviously the briefing. So this thing, the inspiration, once again, comes from a listener submitted anecdote. The prompt is a time when I took a risk and it paid off unexpectedly. So again, the emphasis on the inspiration, right? Which means that you can't use this as the call out. You can't also use it as the core of what you're trying to do. You really need to elevate it to another level, so a little bit out, so one level out the box, new angle, and a new angle maybe on that to make it quite unique, right? So we will break it down. Okay, so the written component, you must write the prep out. Okay, even though it isn't obviously normally scripted, we write obviously in short style for prep so that we don't read off the prep, whatever it is, but you have to actually do the scripting for it. So the hook, the crumbs, the dress up, the payoff, and the blackout, including a potential call to action to inspire the listener to respond. That is where we're going to place in the payoff the call to action. We're going to look at this as one. So obviously content, as you know, We do it, we do the throwouts in one link. We obviously continue with callers, or we might continue with maybe like a live interview or whatever it is, or pre-recorded piece. It doesn't matter, right? So it would probably continue for 2 to maybe 3 links, sometimes even 4 if dynamic content is there. But we are, for this particular piece, you're going to do from beginning to end for the first piece. So in other words, the full-bodied call out, obviously the setup for the call out, and then obviously executing that call out, so a call to action, tell them that you're going to tell them the number, tell them where they can send a voice note as a reaction to what it is that you're going to construct here. You then have to record the audio, right? And you have to obviously upload it to your SoundCloud account, and that is 10 marks, so 10 marks, 10 marks. And we'll do the breakdown in just a second, right? Obviously, I'm going to walk you through these different. Can you remember what the hook, the crumbs, the dress up, payoff, and blackout are?
Yeah, so the hook is getting them. It's the today we're gonna do what like on today's show this is gonna happen, but not telling them exactly what it is.
So you're thinking of a show introduction and a teaser, like a throw forward.
Ah,
So it's not.
okay.
So we can tease to obviously a content piece. That's right. That's fine.
Yeah.
And we can quote unquote there's many terms for it in the textbook. So you can tease, you can do the promise, you can do, there's many, like I say, interchangeable terms for it. But
Yeah.
that's throwing forward. A hook is the beginning. It's the first 7 to 20 seconds.
Gets
Ideally,
them hooked.
yeah,
Yes. Okay,
of
sorry.
a
But sorry,
link.
you finish there, sorry.
No, that's what I was going to say. So ideally, the first 7 to 20 seconds, which constitutes to about 4 sentences that you can say, right? You don't have to be so clinical about it, but rather to learn a structure and then go ballistic a little bit. Like obviously, go freestyling later when you've mastered a construct here, and then be like, okay, cool, I can work around stuff. But that's what I was saying, try to keep it to 7 to 20 seconds. It's about, like I say, 4 sentences that you're saying, right? That'll be the hook. Um, it can, like I say, it can be shorter, it can be longer. What are the crumbs? The crumbs, the dress up, pay off, and then ideally what the blackout is.
I think the crumbs is keeping them interested in what the payoff is going to be. So you're just dropping like little clues and hints of like let's say if your payoff is a guest.
Mhm.
So I think you're dropping little clues of this guy or this person was here, did this and that.
So you're
And
giving them some context.
yeah, give me some context, yes. And
Yeah.
then the dress up is it's the introduction to the payoff, I think.
So that's where the detail comes in.
Ah, the
So
detail,
you
yeah.
understand. So that's where the beef of the link comes in. So it can vary. It doesn't always have to be like like facts or whatever it is. We do have a very, I mean, that's why we go and prep. We go and look up some stuff, and we create an opinion based on what it is that we want to say in the payoff. Want to ask, obviously, the listener, want to, I don't know, create a certain mindset, or a think piece for them as well. So, but the crumbs will be putting things into context. The hook is kind of elusive, So you then explain a little bit more so they know what they are hooked in for. I don't want to use the terminology so it becomes cheesy, right? So the dress up will obviously be all the detail, just to, like I say, a good balance of a couple of, say, dimensions. So the first dimension is obviously your content that you're researching, right? So something that has a base, okay? That does include you looking ideally at different perspectives, right? But different points of view, maybe different. So you give it a little bit of a balance, and then oh yeah. So the second, obviously, the second dimension is like adding like a sound bite, or crossing live somewhere. You're adding another, like a media dimension. Something that they can indulge in a little bit more. We might have, like I say, a part of an interview. It's still a sound bite. We can cut little pieces of an interview out play it here, kind of to put in that. And the third dimension is you. So you as a personality need to be able to add enough to make it unique to stand out, because that dimension should not be like any other person, that's on radio, right? So those are the three dimensions that you put into like a full-bodied content piece. Payoff, you ask for a call to action, or so the call to action, yes, is about let's say, phone now or voice note now or whatever it is. But you can also, I mean, in the context of an interview, right? That is, let's say it's a standalone piece, right? Like the content is only within the interview. How do you obviously relate to them? We do sometimes, obviously, as you know, in talk radio specifically, we open it up to the listener and becomes obviously like a bi-directional conversation, right, between them
Yeah.
and us, the guest and the guests and the listeners. We can do that, but payoff can also be, what am I getting out of it? That's the thing, So so this, obviously, we know that we're constructing maybe an interview that is is about empowering you to do this, or it's informing you about these specifics in your community when it comes to building, I don't know, like on your property. You know what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
It's still going to, we can take it quite literally. Obviously, this works better understood with a call out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But again, not to confuse the terminology, the blackout, quite simply, is the way that we just get out of the link. That's the thing. We just put out a number, we ID the station, or let's say if it's the blackout of an entire content piece, how are you going to get out of it so that people know this is over? Does it make sense, right? In this, you're going to use the blackout to only end that particular call out. Makes sense. So you'll only do, let's say, the phone number that they can, they can obviously like send a text or whatever it is through, and you'll ID the station and you'll go to a song. Does that make sense? Right? That is the kind of the larger umbrella understanding of these different elements. Is that fine? Do you have any questions around that?
No, I think I'm good. I think I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
I think they
Okay.
might follow just when I get a better understanding of this, but for now I'm good. I've wrote down my notes and I'll work
Okay.
with them and see if my understanding is sharp.
All right. As I said, today we'll do the practical exercise, and it'll be quite obviously lengthy so that you can get it right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, the process. So then you just upload, make sure that it's like an MP3 format. It's nice and clean and edited nicely. So don't give a poor attempt with your execution of. If it does take you, it's fine. Like if you edit correctly, I don't mind. No one's gonna care. I'm saying to you, if you edit and it sounds smooth, I'm saying that we can't tell that it's edited, right? So when you do the recording, like make sure that again you are in a place that has kind of good, obviously soundproofing. You don't have to go to a studio. I've said this before, the best place is probably to record it in your bedroom, close the door, put a pillow or a blanket there by the door, whatever it is, close the windows, because there's a lot of material in there. I'm saying to you, it's the quietest place in your house, right? um Make sure that there aren't, I mean, that if the people are doing stuff outside where you stay or whatever it may be, or there's external noise, you can't record then. You must plan a time that's quiet, that you can get a good professional recording on obviously your phone. If you do get it, like I say, in one go, that's great, right? But do your best attempt. Only submit your best attempt, right? Goes without saying, but a lot of people will just submit what they do. They'll just record it and they'll just put it up there, right?
Mm,
Okay.
mm.
And then wonder why the marks are incredibly low, right? Just again, remember, you have lots of time to prep it. You have lots of time to practice. I'm saying to you again, practice mustn't become performance. Does that make sense in terms of like a stage performance? So that it sounds very kind of like robotic and whatever it is. Make sure that the practice is giving you ownership on the material that you are doing. So you can talk freely, you can talk directly to a listener with your prep in front of you so that you're not lost, that you get from point to point to point and you get to the end and it's power, you know? Okay. All right. So you're going to upload that. And then obviously, again, please, like, if you don't include, like, make it a public account and I can't access it, we're not going to ask you, like while we're marking, please make it obviously public so that I can mark it. We're just going to give you 0. Okay. So just be aware that if you, especially when you are creating a SoundCloud account, again, it can also be on Mixcloud, it can be on Iona. As long as it's somewhere I can listen to it, it's fine. Just provide the proper URL, right? When you give your cover sheet, and also maybe in the actual submission, just include the actual links to it, so I can just access it. Just make sure that you tested before. Okay. Any questions on the first one? No, you said no. You're fine. You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second one is the 2 podcasts, right? So you're going to create 2 4-minute podcasts, right? They must be 4 minutes long. So again, this has to go through an editing process, right? Where you will record more and you will edit down to 4 minutes, right? For every 10 seconds that you are out of the time, obviously, limit, you will lose a mark, right? So either under or over, you'll lose a mark for every 10 seconds, right? The idea is, again, to record more so that you have a lot to choose from. I'm saying in the recording, and then obviously, like, just cut it down, to all the best parts, the best executions of. When you are recording a podcast that is scripted, like, for example, in this case, right? Let's say you're not doing an interview or whatever it is. There's so many ways that you can execute this particular part of the assignment, right? So there's no boundaries with this. That's the whole point of a podcast, right? If you do a scripted one, right, then you need to make sure that it's a good take and that you're not messing up, because it is scripted for you. I'm saying you've scripted it and you need to execute it naturally, right? So if you do mess up, you need to pause and then start that sentence again. Do you understand? Start that execution of that again. So when you
Yeah.
do the edits, it's quite clean and quite easy for you, even if you don't have a lot of experience editing. Like, it'll be an easy split and cut and whatever it may be, right? Okay. If you also, so practice your recordings so that you can see what your idiosyncrasies are. In other words, if you do have crutch words, if you do have these type of things that pop up while you are recording, while you quote unquote on air, these things must be like completely obliterated before we actually do. But obviously, while you're doing this, we don't want it here, but we definitely don't want it on air, right? When you go and do your shows for the formative, right? Um, Okay. So again, look, these are the topics here. So while we gave you this piece here, right, and we said there it's about the inspiration, the springboarding, new ideas, you understand, is so that you can apply it to these topics as well over here. So we give you 3 topics: the ethics of artificial intelligence and social media. Consider biases, whatever, right? Biases, data, privacy, etc. Topic 2, sustainable fashion. So is the industry truly changing, or is it greenwashing? The rise of citizen journalism, so how it is reshaping news reporting. If you take it directly, so let's say you take this, you call your podcast this, and you talk about this, you're not going to get a great mark. Does that make sense, right?
Yeah.
So you need to elevate it a little bit further. It can be about artificial intelligence, but you can give me something really cool about AI. You understand? So AI in the workplace, AI, in student life, like AI as a like whatever it is. I don't know, as an athlete. You can do something cool. You can. There's so many things you can do with AI, right? That, I mean, even these are not really the best ideas, but you can go and elevate them once again, right? So or you can deal with ethics in social media, right? So you can go and do like a litmus test are, and follow certain like three people, three influencers or whatever it is on social media for a week and do a litmus test to see whether or not they all have any ethical standards. Do you understand? Something interesting that you can do. I don't know. It's got to be super, super unique because podcasts are there's so many, right? As we said before, probably about 5.5 million unique podcasts now worldwide that are active. As I said, in the beginning of the year, it was 5 million. It always increases, right? So I'm just saying to you, you must think of something that's super niche to get someone's attention, right? It doesn't have to be, by saying super niche, it doesn't have to be something that people have never, ever, ever heard before. But the way that you do it and the way you construct it should be the closest attempt to something that someone is currently not hearing. Does it make sense? So, in other words, not just another like a psychology podcast, not just another like reaction podcast, not just another review podcast. You understand? Take it and make something better out of it, right? So you can, like I say, you will springboard from each one of these with unique ideas, right? Okay, for each topic, like there's a breakdown that's a lot clearer. I'm not saying, no offense, obviously, this is why the briefs are revised and stuff, but because we saw a lot of students misinterpret how to execute the podcast, script the podcast, whatever it is. There's a much clearer way of breaking it down. So, very concise opening. You got to come in there just like you would do a hook, right? It is a hook. You're coming in, you're getting their attention. It's only 4 minutes. You got about 30 seconds to maybe 35 seconds to do your full introduction because you only have 4 minutes to work with. And if you're working backwards, we're looking at about 45 seconds to a minute for the closer, right? To really really navigate nicely to a good rhetorical question. There's there's no way for you to do a call to action, right? Because the thing is that if you look at where we host podcasts, none of the platforms allow for comments to be added. You'd have to actually share that to social media and allow someone to comment on social media, right? So you can't actually say, leave your stuff in the comments below because where you're hosting doesn't allow for that, right? Okay. Um, I don't know if SoundCloud, let me just quickly check. Oh, just give me a second, yeah. Um, while I just want to see if I can actually comment on SoundCloud, because then that will allow you to do a call to action. Obviously, on Iona, you're not allowed to do that. On Spotify, you can't do that. Just give me a second. Shushman. Just give me a second. Oh, yeah, you can actually write a comment on SoundCloud. So
Okay.
yeah, there is a comment section here. Um, all right. Well, that's good. Okay, so if you host it on SoundCloud, you may then say, and not like I said, not on Iona and on Mixcloud and stuff like that. Then you may ask for leave your comments below, but then you got to ask a good question. So it's got to be like I said, a good call to action, right? Okay. But let's go from start to finish. A concise opening, explain the core issue, showcasing research that can obviously put a good foundation to get their attention as well. Make a good opening statement. Your reason opinion supported by a good variation of perspectives, right? Okay, and examples. Again, this is clinical. You can take this and go, like I say, bit by bit, and it'll be correct, right? Or you can go crazy, like I say, as long as there's structure and it's not chaotic in a way that is disturbing for us to listen to, then it's going to be fine. A thought provoking closing and a question for listeners, right? Fostering further discussion. So, again, as I said there, it's about the think piece. Give them something to think about further on. And should they want to share with you, they can comment, right? Ideally, what you want to do is close with a set of rhetorical thoughts. You understand? Because you've brought them this far, they've come with you on like this short, like I say, 4-minute journey, and you want to close up so that they can go away and think about something. You understand? Take some action in their own life, take some action in their train of thought, whatever it is, and what they're saying. Right. Um, so you will then upload topic 1, topic 2 to SoundCloud there as well, right? And we're going to obviously look at the breakdown here, right, for every section. So question 1, 20 marks, right? So the variation obviously from 3 to 0 up to 10 to 8. Excellent. I'm going to go to the two extremes every time, right? So your written outline, if it's obviously clear outlines of the 5 storytelling steps with the compelling details and a strong call to action, you're going to get a good mark between 8 and 10, right? So again, the 5 storytelling steps is the hook, the crumbs, etc. Right. Okay. On the opposite side, missing key storytelling steps, call to action is unclear or it's absent, and you'll obviously lose the marks, right? The recorded story is then obviously on your execution. So do you have good pacing? Do you have great, obviously the correct enunciation, pronunciation, and execution of certain words, inflections, whatever it may be, right? Captivating narrative for the listeners. Narrative is difficult to follow, right? It lacks energy, focus, or be the opposite extreme. For each podcast, I'm only going to do the one because obviously the two apply, right? Applies to both. You're marked again from 10 to 8 down to 3 to 0. So the research and intro, excellent depth of research. Intro sets up the issue with clarity using credible sources, right? So to make you credible as a podcaster, you have to have some kind of ownership or some kind of detail to say, I want to listen further. Does that make sense? Right.
Yeah.
Which is why, right. Because then anyone does say anything they want in podcasts, but a lot of people don't listen to rubbish. So that's just the thing that we're going
Yeah.
to say there. Right. So even if it's being done, doesn't mean that it's being done correctly. Poor research, intro lacks clear context, and it's confusing for the listener. Got to get in and got to get out, right? Opinion and examples. So compelling opinion. It's advised that you are strongly opinionated in a podcast. Does that make sense? So your personality stands out. There's obviously that big opportunity to, like I say, be unique, have a unique insight, and take a stand. Do you understand? It doesn't mean that you mustn't be or you aren't able to be shifted. Do you understand? You must be human, especially, like I say, within a podcast that has no limits. You shouldn't be putting on a facade, or you don't have to adhere to a brand, whatever it is, you understand, like you would do in radio. Like this is your opportunity to really just like be quote unquote very organic, raw, should I say, and then that's in the quotes, and then organic, it's a normal word, right? Compelling opinion supported by insightful examples and logical reasoning, right? You want people to agree with you, so make sense, right? Opinion lacks clear direction or supporting examples are missing. In the closing, an audience engagement, thought-provoking closing statement, and an open-ended question inspires listeners' reflection and potential responses. See, that open-ended question is almost like a rhetorical question. If you had to think that you are here, what would you do next? Would it be this? Would it be that? You understand? Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Like, so you would walk them through that line of reasoning, that line of questioning, which allows them to go and, like I say, mull over it, right? Closing action is missing, or it's completely off topic. So you've lost the listener. Same thing for topic 2, obviously. And then there's two, obviously, there's two breakdowns of 10 marks. The one is for entertaining, whether you're entertaining and emotive. So you got enthusiasm, you're present, like it is, like I say, once again, captivating. I can't use more words just to sound fancier. There's only a certain amount of words that explain this. Right. Get the attention, be magnetic, be charismatic. You understand? Significantly entertaining, being either funny, useful, bold, beautiful, or inspiring and emotive. This is the person that reads out the stuff. Then this, then that, then this, then that. Right. Completely like not engaging, completely disinterested, and very boring to listen to. Right. Okay. And then your timing, obviously, again, for every 10 seconds, any other podcasts are over or under 4 minutes, 1 mark is subtracted until 10 marks are gone. Right, so there's a breakdown over there. What questions do you have?
Yeah, nothing yet, but I'm sure they will follow.
Okay,
I'm sure they will follow.
so obviously, as you know, just put that link there so that I can
Yeah,
obviously, as you, I'm sure, I don't know what you did in your second year because again, you had the break. Let's stop that share there. And then I'm just gonna stop this recording for now.
perfect.
Okay.